make a joke right now about this. It's just that in this pasta, it's bizarre. And considering what I've talked about in the past, and what I'm probably going to talk about in the future, that's saying a lot. Given that it has all this violence and, all this bizarre info, and the person that's doing all this is coming from the main star of the show, it's pretty unnerving. Well, with that in mind, the story is not actually half bad. Although in this pasta, there were some, weird aspects to it that's often not used in the story. Like gore aspects. I mean, there are some gory aspects in the story, but not as much as you think, considering the subject matter. It's not used often for the majority of the time. The story really sinks you in with its atmosphere. The pasta does talk about certain details about the show, which gives it more credibility, like how they have dream sequences go on, and how the show at times can be weird and stuff, and talk about personal things like kids having Asperger's. In a recent episode that was talking about cancer, there were many downsides to the story though, mainly the grammar. In fact, I had to slightly rewrite the pasta because some plots were misplaced. They were a little messed up. I do like the idea of a lost episode of Offer, and that it could have been produced in the second season and only had one time airing. Granted, why no one had ever put down any recordings of it, or wrote anything online about it is beyond me. Maybe it's fake. Maybe someone hacked into it. Maybe someone produced it by themselves. Who knows? This definitely does leave some room for debate and the most skeptical and gullible people. But it's a fake story. Who the fuck cares? Arthur is a kids' TV show that has been around since the late 1990s and is still on to this day. It is one of the weirdest reality-based shows that sets examples for kids. I grew up with it and still watch it on weekday mornings when I don't have school. This story, though, will explain what has soured me from buying other old episodes on tape. I have written this description on the episode a few years back and left it on my computer, and after much thought, I've decided to release it. I wish this tape had survived long enough for me to get some screenshots of it, but alas, the film tore badly, and during repairs, I lost all but 5 minutes of the episode. The tape was bought secondhand about a month ago from my normal secondhand media store, the Corner Store. From those who don't live in central Alberta, it's an old music store that became a second-hand movie store some time ago. I have bought almost 100 VHS tapes from him, all of which worked fine, except for this one. I bought the tape because I was trying to find the old episodes of Arthur again, to bring back good memories of my childhood. I love that show, and still watch it to this day. As all you should know, they still make it, and the new ones are nothing to brag about. The animation looks cheap and rather rushed, the stories are often dull and focused on the mental illness of children, like the one about the kid with Asperger's. It feels out of place. Characters have changed. The bullies are now good guys, Francine is even more of a bitch, and DW no longer has moments that make her seem like more than a spoiled brat. The show has been ruined. To escape this mess, I went out to buy some old episodes on tape. Home recordings were of particular interest, so I can see some of the old commercials that aired at the time. I bought about $5 worth of old tapes, each at 50 cents. They all seemed fine. Each was properly labeled with episode times, recording dates, and timestamps. The one that caught my eye was the title Death of Grandma, recorded on March 5th, 1998, with a long timestamp, 15 minutes, 24 seconds, lost the channel. It was an episode I did not know, from an air date that seemed almost too old to be trusted. I then noticed that the title had been written on a patch whiteout. I decided against scraping it off. Perhaps it was a recording of something in the people's lives. Like home movies, etc. I decided to watch it first. The beginning was the opening of Arthur. The theme sounded a bit tinny, probably due to bad recording equipment. The tape had issues that troubled me, mainly the tracking. I just couldn't get it to stop being jumpy and was awkward to watch. I eventually gave up, leaving it where there was a line of fuzz across the top of the TV, and I sat down. There was no opening title for the episode. It showed the Elwood City Hospital, something I wasn't really familiar with. The sad music was playing. The only car in the parking lot was the Reeds. It cut to Arthur and DW in the waiting room. Arthur was reading a Scare Your Pants Off book, while DW pestered him about the story. The volume was bad, making it hard for me to listen to. I'll do my best to recreate what they were saying, though it is hard to remember. Why won't you play with me, Arthur? I'm bored. Why are we even here? Shut up, DW. I'm trying to read. The parents came down the hall. The mom was crying, and the dad looked shocked. DW ran to them, asking why Arthur was ignoring her. The dad told her to sit down. Now kids, I'm afraid that we won't be seeing Grandma Thor again. She's gone to a better place. He broke into tears. As always, the voice acting was pretty good. Arthur dropped his book in shock and stared. They sat there. unmoving, the tape rippling was stacked as the parents crying loomed over and over. It cut to them at home. The mom was talking on the phone, looking sad but acting professional. DW was staring at the TV, but it was just a blank screen. Baby Kate was just sitting there, unmoving, and the dad was making a wedding cake. His face was pretty grim. The doorbell rang and Arthur opened the door. It was Buster. Hey, I heard what happened. You want to go to the Sugar Bowl and talk? Sure. The shot of the Super Bowl appeared, but there was no music, only wind blowing. I noticed it was fall in the episode, as dead leaves were littering the ground. Arthur and Buster were sitting there, not talking, not moving. It reminded me of the still frames that sometimes appear in the old Team and the T show. Buster spoke, but his mouth was not moving with the words at all. We should do something fun, cheer ourselves up. Arthur just stared at him, eyes blank. It jumped suddenly to a funeral. Everyone was in black. There was no music, only crying. The casket was pure white, draped in flowers. It showed Arthur, his face wet with tears, before the imagined sound cue came in. The casket opened, and it wasn't Grandma Thornton there, but instead his mom. Her face was heavily wrinkled, like the episode where DW got lost in the mall and was thinking what life would be like without her. Her teeth were showing, the color was off, being more of a yellow than normal white. Her eyes suddenly opened, but they were not human. But why are black button eyes, like on Arthur's stuffed bear Stanley? He screamed and everyone vanished, leaving him alone in the church. The walls fell in, exposing a red and black streaked sky. DW's laughter could be heard, high and rapid. There was a loud bang and the images stopped. Arthur was just sitting there with a pale face. His mom was whispering something to Dad as DW was crying. They were walking in a single file to the coffin. As Arthur got closer, you can hear the buzzing of flies. He swallowed and wiped his eyes. The coffin lid was open. He looked in and there was a shot of his face. He was enraged. There was a flash of white and the sound was gone for a moment. Suddenly they were in the car again. The episode ended, and as for commercials, they weren't anything amazing. Just some ads for Chick-fil-A and KSPS. The next part of the episode did actually have a title. It was called Recovery. It was written on a plain white background. I could hear DW screaming, like when Arthur punched her before the episode started up, and the family was at home. It seemed like a continuation of the previous part. DW was in her room, playing with her dolls. The parents were reminiscing over pictures, and Arthur was in his room. When Pal came in and started barking at him wanting to play, Arthur got up and kicked the dog. He kept kicking him. The soundtrack now consisting of Pal's yelps, before slamming his door shut. Kate started crying, and Arthur started to grit his teeth as the scene faded out. The next scene showed that it was nighttime as Arthur crept out of his room, with his backpack on his shoulder. He walked past Pal, who whined and drew away, before grabbing his coat and sneaking out. He ran for a full 3 minutes. The streets were all in shadow. The very soft, normal, happy music that we all knew from the show was playing. That ended though when he ran into the graveyard. He stopped at his grandma's grave, staring at it. There was an owl hooting sound and he started digging, crying out his pain as he did. His bare hands were now soon slicked in dark red blood, and he stopped, finding the coffin. The coffin opened up, and Arthur was inside of it. His eyes were closed and his glasses were shattered. His family gathered around, staring down and crying. Kate was screaming, and for whatever reason, DW threw Pal into the open grave. Although his body wasn't moving, there was a still of him running. The scene went black, and there was a low sound that rose to a high chatter. It was the Tibbles laughing. The grave started to spin into empty space, opening and sucking rolled into it. I could hear DW yelling, "Kate did it!" over and over again, mixed with Pal's cries of pain. Stanley appeared, spiraling down through the blackness. His head tore off, and the cartoony organs from the episode where Arthur cut his knee started trailing from its body. There was a series of loud thuds, and it showed Arthur again, sitting there, in the sugar bowl. Buster was next to the booth on the floor. His eyes were missing. The red sockets started to stream blood, and Arthur screamed in rage. There was only a few white flashes, and it showed him in prison, wearing the black and white clothing the show always does, and his face was covered in scars that they show on bad guys sometimes. His last words were louder than any of the other speech clips. "I killed them all! I beat out Kate's brains and stabbed EW! I killed my dog! My parents ate poison, but I didn't do it! She did! Thor did! She made me kill them!" It went to the credits, and it was the normal cheery music. Stunned, I went to rewind my tape to see if what I just saw was either real or just a dream. When I tried to rewind the video though, the tape seized up. So I took the tape out and I opened it up. The film had split an inch from one reel, all the way down to a few inches from the other one. Either I had just witnessed one of the worst things to ever be associated with a children's cartoon, or I'm just off my nut. I'll never know. I remember it pretty well though, suggesting it was real. If this was made by some sick fuck as a joke, I'd give them a thumbs up on making sound that seemed so real, like as if it was actually part of the series. After all, the video had never cut out like it said in the tape itself, unless it had on what had been originally recorded on the said tape. But now that I think of it, since the show always covers very real topics, could this have been a real episode they only aired once? They did one on DW's bird dying, but never on abuse or anything. If it was really a real episode, and I almost hope it is, I'm intrigued and I really want to see it again, to prove to myself that I'm not going mad.